What's the worst thing that can happen to a beautiful planner page? Is it smudged ink, jagged, uneven lines, or maybe it's ink bleed through? To avoid these issues, simply perform a pen test. Stay tuned and I'll show you how by testing several types of pens and markers with various planners, journals, papers, correction tapes, washi tape, and even transparent sticky notes.
Hi, I'm Linda. I've been a dedicated planner enthusiast for over 40 years. Planning has helped me in my professional and personal lives to achieve my goals and to stay organized. I'm here to share what I've learned along the way and to help you make the most of your planner. I'll be sharing tips, tricks, and DIY ideas that you can use whether you're just starting out or if you're just looking for new ways to elevate your planning. So let's get started on a step that will help make your planning sessions smooth and stress-free. Over the years, I've used all different types of planners, and even early on was printing pages of my own on whatever paper I had available. Some of my planners over the years are quite expensive, others quite budget-friendly. And so the papers I've chosen today for today's pen test include a few budget-friendly options. So we're going to start with your basic 24-pound copy paper. And the paper I have here is the Pen and Gear from Walmart. And then I have a 32-pound paper that's an HP Premium. And here's another 32-pound paper. This is a Staples version that I actually went to Staples and I had them trim it. I used a classic size planner and I had them trim it to size. They didn't have the HP paper, which is 100% brightness, and the Staples brand is a little bit cream by comparison. So even though they're both 32-pound paper, that brightness factor does play into it. And that's sort of a personal preference, but I'm not going to test this one. I'll just test the one. And then I have a sheet of Happy Planner notes paper. I have these are a couple of budget-friendly options I found. This is a Pentalic Traveler Artist Sketchbook. I found these at Walmart. They're $5 and change. This one is a pure plain sketchbook. They are recycled paper. They're 74-pound, 120 GSM, and they're 4 by 6 inches, so a nice little pocket size for on the go or a small journal. And it comes plain. It also comes in with a grid printed on the pages. And these pages are a little bit blue. And I'm only going to test one of them today. When I saw them and saw they were less than $6 a piece, I went ahead and picked up one of these two. I picked up a Pen and Gear journal. Back the first time I tried a bullet journal, I got an Exceed brand journal from Walmart at a very reasonable price because I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't want to spend lots of money on a more expensive journal. But now they've come out with their own Pen and Gear brand, and this is dotted pages. It has the index pages. The pages are numbered for you. It has the elastic band to hold it closed, and it has in the back here an expandable pocket. So it's actually a pretty nice journal. We'll see how well it tests with the pens. For less than $13, and this is 100 GSM paper, and it has 2 page markers, 2 ribbons in it, and it is A5 size. And then last is a new to me paper this year. I've never used a Hobonichi before, but we're going to break this one in today with a pen test because tomorrow it starts becoming a journal for me. And so I'm pretty excited to test that one out. So we'll see how that goes. In addition to paper, sometimes we write on other things. And so we're going to write on washi tape. I also have two brands of correction tape. I have the Bic Whiteout, and then I have the Tombow Mono Air, and we'll test those with the pens. And when I was at Walmart, I found the transparent Post-it notes. These are the Pen and Gear version, which is much cheaper than the brand name version. We're going to test those out. I put a transparent one on, a completely transparent one here on a sheet of paper. Thought we would try the colored pens with it, and then try the ink on the yellow. That way you can actually see where the transparency is on the paper. So that's what I have in store. Now the pens that we're going to test. Okay, I was using the Clena. Where did I put the Clena? There it is. I have the Pentel Clena. I have the Uniball One. And I show all the colors here, but just to keep the video a little shorter, I'm only going to test part of the colors. Maybe we'll test these three. This one's kind of a novelty to me. It's a Pilot Dr. Grip 4-in-1. I had one of these back in the day when one of the four was a stylus to use with your Palm Pilot. You might have to look that one up on the internet to find out what that is, since I don't think they don't make them anymore. Then I have the Zebra Sarasa 0.5 millimeter. I have the antique colors and I am in love. I do have one of the metal barrel ones, which has a very nice feel to it. They are more expensive, of course, than the plastic version here. And in fact, I think that one cost me almost as much as this whole set. And the really cool thing is that the ink cartridge, the ink in this one is the exact same cartridge that is in this one. And so, budget minded, you can go with the plastic pens. It's going to be the same ink. And you can get the same refills. And this one we're going to use because I just love the feel of that. We'll pick out the darkest one, which is and we got a couple of dark ones, and maybe one of the reds. Next I have the Le Pen, and I've already picked out 4 of these to test. I didn't even put all the colors on here. I mean, these come in a whole rainbow, dozens and dozens of colors, as I'm sure if you're familiar with them, you know. But I picked out a couple of the dark ones and a couple of the lighter ones that we'll test: the gray, the teal, the violet, and the peach. I have the Pigma Microns. The nice thing about the Pigmas is they are waterproof once they're dry. They're archival quality. Depends on what you're doing, you know, if you need that or want that. As you can see, once you get into the 10 and the 12, they get pretty large for most planner and journaling, so I'm not going to put those on all the pages today just to keep the test a little shorter, but I will put the 4 smaller ones as we go through. Then I have the Tombow brush pens, and this was a set of 3 that I had. There's a hard brush, a soft brush, and then this one, both ends are soft. One end is black and one end is gray. We'll just test the hard and the soft and the black. Then I have mild liners, and again, there are so many colors of this. I mean, I have dozens of them myself. I picked out 4 colors here. These 2 have a chisel and a fine point, These two are brush and superfine. So we'll be testing with these. I know some people like to color in their journals or in their planners, and so I pulled out a few of my Tombow water-based markers, and I just grabbed 3 colors that we'll test. And then I have the Zig clean colored dots, and I love these for making little dots like you're making a list and you need check boxes or something, and it's just such a quick and easy way to make make those little dots. I have arthritis, so if I can just dot it instead of drawing a square, that's great. We're not going to test all 6 colors. Let's test the purple, and how about the pink? Okay, so that is everything we're going to test. This is just a stack of 32-pound paper. I taped it together with a little bit of washi tape just to keep those pages together, but I wanted something to put underneath as we are testing, just to have an even surface for everything to be fair. Okay, so we'll start with the 24-pound copy paper, and we'll start with the Pentel Clena. And for each one, I will just write down what it is. We'll do a line. We'll do a little squiggle too, okay? And then what we're going to do is we'll flip it over and we'll see, is it ghosting? Is it showing through? And now I can see that just a little bit. Probably see it more if I hold it up with the light coming up through it than if it's laying on another piece of paper. But there's a little bit of ghosting there. But it's not bleeding through. Okay, so now we have the Uniball One. And these are also 0.5 millimeter. It's black. Blue. And both of these, the Clena and the Uniball One, are both, they write very smoothly. I don't see any gaps in the ink. You know, the line's continuous. It's not fading in and out or anything. And this is the Pilot Dr. Grip 4+1, and the ink is 0.7 millimeters. But if you notice, that is writing a finer line than the 0.5 millimeter on the Clena or the Uniball One. I also think that the ink sort of comes and goes a little bit. It's a little hard to see, I'm sure. It's just not as strong a color. I have seen a couple of reviews on this, and you can replace the cartridges in here, and people recommend, if you like having the multi-pen, to get better ink cartridges to put in it. Like I said, this was kind of a novelty to me because I had had one before. I am not sure how much I may use it. It may be a good purse pen for on the go. And then of course it has a pencil. And the pencil is 0.5 millimeters. But again, all of those colors just seem, the lines are very thin for a 0.7 millimeter. but changing out the ink cartridges might be the thing to do. And then we come to the Sarasa. I saw these colors and I fell in love. I like the vintage feel. I do not have a true black. I need to get a true black in this pen because I think these are very quickly becoming my favorite. Especially, I mean, I may end up collecting over time the Grand, which is what the one with the metal barrel is called, is the Sarasa Grand, simply because it feels lovely to hold, whereas the plastic, it doesn't have the weight, it just feels different in the hand, and this one just feels much better in the hand. And I am not a yellow pen lover, and this color has won me over to yellows. Well, this yellow anyway. So that's the Zebra Sarasa. Next we have the Le Pen. The Le Pen is 0.3 millimeters. And this is the gray. I call this one teal. I call this one violet. This one peach. Been forgetting to stop and turn it over. Okay. So I am seeing a little bit of ghosting, mostly on where I did back and forth scribbles. And mostly on the gray Le Pen, the black, the darkest Sarasa, the black on the Dr. Grit. And again, this is 24-pound paper, so it's fairly thin, thinner than what most planners are printed on. But it would still work for you if you were, printing something at home. Okay. So this is the Micron 01. The Micron 03. The 05. And the 08. And again, where the little scribble is, I can see the ghosting through the whole thing, but mostly where the scribbles are back and forth. Now we'll do the Tombow, and I'll start with the hard so that I can write down what it is. I'll go ahead and write soft with this one as well. Now I'm seeing a little bit more with the brush stroke there. One of the things with markers and with pens too is that if they're juicy pens, is that when you write more slowly and the pen is in contact with the paper for longer, it more ink gets transferred to the paper and it sinks in. And 665. And I'll give you a brush stroke. I did put a little bit of pressure behind that brush stroke. And these are the color numbers, just in case you're curious. And not too bad. I can see the purple, and I wrote with the purple, and so I'm starting to see a little bit of on the bottom of the downstrokes on my writing, I see just a little bit of bleed through on that. Okay, so now the mild liners. Let me grab a pen here to write this down. And I've got super fine, and I've got a brush, another super fine, and a brush, fine, chisel. You see the beginning of that stroke, it's pretty dark there. And it's one thing to watch me do the test. If you do the test, you might get a different result because your pressure, your hand pressure, my hand pressure might be different. And sure enough, right there where I knew it was going to be dark is starting to bleed through a little bit on the beginning of that stroke on the brown. And last are the Zig clean color dots. The really cool thing about these is that it's one size dot, if you're not familiar with them, and you can just tap it a little longer, a little longer, a little longer, and get different size dots. But remember what I said about ink on paper, the longer that it touches the paper, the more ink goes into the paper. And that's what you see here is the pink, you can barely see the tiny one. By the time I get to that bigger one, you can definitely see it. And the purple one, you can see it all the way across. It's bleeding through. Like I said, I love these, but I use them with care. Okay, so this is the 24-pound paper. I don't actually print my planner pages on the 24-pound paper. I print my planner pages on 32-pound paper. Okay, so we're going to go back and start over. We've got the Pentel Clena 0.5 millimeters. And I know it's there, but it's not really showing through. This is the Uniball One, 0.5 millimeters. Oh, I forgot something. forgot to put a line, a squiggle. We'll look at that one again in a minute. A line and a squiggle. Guess it helps if I write the color name too. Black. Okay. So a line and a squiggle, and this is blue. And a line and a squiggle for orange. Okay. So the Uniball One, I see it even less than I do the Clena. If I hold it up, I can see them. Like I said, I know they're there. But if I just flip the page, I probably wouldn't even notice that there was writing on the other side of it there. Yeah, if I find myself wanting to use this, I probably will have to get the ink cartridges because, like I said, I'm not terribly pleased with the ink that came in it. But it is handy. And again, not seeing anything. Like I said, this is the paper I print everything on. And I do print just about everything in duplex. So here's the Sarasa, 0.5 millimeters. Now I think that this paper has a smoother feel than the 24-pound paper as well. I use a Epson EcoTank printer, and before I was keeping 24-pound paper in my old printer for just day-to-day printing and only switching out to the 32-pound when I was printing my planner. And I tried to print a recipe in duplex on the new printer, and it puts out more ink than the old printer did, and it on 24-pound paper, duplex printing was not a good idea. So now I keep 32-pound paper in there all the time. Okay, so that's the Sarasa. Let's see how that looks on the back. Looking good. Let's go to the little pen. Okay. And I like the fact that I can sort of color with those with the little squiggles. With any marker, if you go back and forth enough, you're going to probably get bleed through. But for just giving some color here and there on things, they work very well. Okay, so the microns are next. Let me get these in order so I can just pick them up. Micron 01. I always forget when I pick up the 08 that I need to write larger because I can't make the letters that small with that big nib. There's the micron. Now that one I can see it a little bit here when it's laying down. It's a heavier ink. Okay. Tombow. I can see that a little bit more than the micron, especially on the soft because it's a heavier line, but it's really not bleeding through or anything. I don't normally color a lot in my planner, but one of the things I plan to do with the Hobonichi is going to be a journal that I may want to do some decorating and some doodling. Just not sure what's going to work on that paper. I'll have to find out. Okay, so I've got mild liners. Okay, so on this 32-pound paper, I'm not seeing any bleed through from the Tombow water-based markers, which is pretty cool. So I've got the mild liners up next, and this is a super fine and a brush. Super fine and a brush. Fine and a chisel, and a fine and a chisel. Okay. No bleed through. I can see a little bit of shadowing, but then, like I said, I know it's there. I'm looking for it. And then last is the Zig Clean Color Dot. And I can see ghosting on the purple. I can't really see the pink so much, other than knowing that it's there. But I can see a little ghosting on that purple. But like I said, this is the paper that I normally print all of my planner pages on. And so I'm happy to see that all of my new pens are working very well. Okay, next up is the Happy Planner notes paper. I'm going to have to work a little bit smaller. I got a smaller page this time. Okay. We're going to start with the Pentel Clena 0.5 millimeters. Squeeze it in up here at the top. And now I'm guessing the GSM on the 24-pound paper is 90 GSM, grams per square meter. The 32-pound paper is 120 grams per square meter. And I am guessing that this Happy Planner Notes paper is about 100 GSM. So you would expect it to perform sort of in between those. Okay, so this is the Uniball One 0.5 millimeter in black. Blue. And orange. And I see nothing there. Now the fact that this paper has a dot grid on it, that may fool us a little bit. That may help hide some of the ghosting that we might normally see, but normally we're doing other things on both sides of the paper anyway. So here's the Pilot Dr. Grip 4+1 0.7 millimeters black. Blue. Green. It's even hard to get that color on there, to color a little squiggle back and forth, because it is right so fine. Nothing there. So the Zebra Sarasa, 0.5 millimeters. Wrote the name backwards. And I see nothing. Works well on the Happy Planner. Okay. A pen, 0.3 millimeters in gray. Teal. Violet. Peach. Still looking good. Microns. Micron 01. starting to see a little ghosting on the heavier micron, just a tiny, tiny bit. I don't think, if I hold it up you can see it. You can see that 08 right there. You can see that little squiggle. Okay. Tombow brush pens. Soft, hard, and this is actually the hard in my hand. Okay, there's ghosting on the soft there. But again, that's putting pressure down, more ink down. Tombow water-based. And this is number 755. $7.43. And $6.65. Those actually did pretty well. There's a tiny bit of ghosting there. Probably can't color back and forth a whole lot with those, but they did fine. Mild liners. Okay, so the mild liners, I've got a fine point and a brush. Actually, these are super fine in brush. And this is fine and chisel. And fine and chisel. See that brown? Some colors, lighter colors are going to be less likely to bleed through, darker colors more likely to bleed through. And that's why I tend to choose a darker color and a lighter color. And then with the dots, I see pink, I see purple, but we've seen that everywhere a little bit. Like I said, it's just the nature of the ink in those markers. It tends to seep into the paper more. So there's our Happy Planner Notes page. Everything tested pretty well, pretty on par with the 32-pound paper, and better than the 24-pound paper. Next up is our fun little sketchbook. And the way we do it when we get into a book like this is that we come to the back page here. And this becomes our pen test page. That way you can go up here and you can work from the front back, and if you need to test more pens and you need more pages, you can keep adding. And I used to always label it pen test page, but I pretty much know that it's the pen test page based on what's on it. So here's the Pentel Clena and 0.5 millimeter. And I am seeing nothing. Now I was expecting, this is art paper, that it would be more porous paper and things might bleed through more. So we'll see how this goes. This is the Uniball One, 0.5 millimeter black. Blue. Orange. And again, now one thing I do feel on this paper is I can feel a little bit of raised image on it, and that's because it probably is a softer paper, not as densely pressed as the 32-pound paper that goes through a printer. I'll tell you what, I have a small page here, and I'm not going to test all the colors here. We know how this is performing. Apparently I'm going to keep writing this color name backwards instead of sepia black, call it black sepia. So. Okay, still not seeing anything coming through, and the raised filling is not very much. It's just very, very slight, just enough that I can feel it's there. Little pen, 0.3 millimeters. I'm hearing thunder. Seems like there is some sort of superstition or legend or something that when you hear thunder in the winter, it's going to snow in however many days. Gonna have to look that up. A little pen, 0.3 millimeters. I see nothing. I'm impressed with how well this paper is holding up. It's cute little journals. I'm thinking purse size here. Okay. Now we get to some of the heavier inks. We'll see how it goes. The Micron 01. Micron 03. Got to do my little line and my little squiggle. Okay. Go through the microns and I'm still not seeing anything on the back of the page. I'm very, very impressed with this paper. Okay. Jumbo brush pens. Even the brush pens, I'm just not seeing anything show through. Six, five. Trying to crowd all this in here to get it all on the sheet of paper. Okay, so then I've got mild liners, and then I've got Zig Clean Color Dots. Okay, so for the mild liners, I've got Superfine and a brush. Got Superfine and a brush. Fine and a chisel point. Fine and a chisel point. Still looking really good here. Here's the real test. This is the one that's been bleeding through for everything. So I've got dots. And that's where I see it. Yep, this is just going to bleed through every paper there is. I see purple. It says they're water-based. Maybe they're just really juicy pens. Okay. So this is our Pentalic test. Performed really, really well. Like I said, I like the size. It too has a little pocket back here and a bookmark. And like I said, these were under $5 a piece. Or under $6 a piece. They were $5 and change. The grid paper was a little bit more expensive, but nice little journal. Okay, next is the Pen and Gear dot grid journal. We'll do the same thing. We go back here to the back. We find that last page. I'm going to go ahead and fold this back so we can see that back page. And we'll do this all again. The Pentel Clena 0.5 millimeters. Uniball One, 0.5 millimeters. Forgetting to write down the colors again. blue, orange. Okay, I'm seeing a little bit of ghosting here. Now this is 100 GSM paper. So maybe the Happy Planner is a little bit more than that. Again, I don't think the Dr. Grip is going to become my planner pen, at least not in its current state with this ink. So I'm just going to do the black here and move along. Okay, this is the Sarraza 0.5 milliliters in sepia black. And in the dark blue. Again, slight ghosting, but not too bad. No bleed through. We'll pen 0.33 millimeters in gray. Teal. Violet. And peach. Okay, a little bit of ghosting, no bleed through. Alright. The Micron 01. The Micron 03. The Micron 05. And the Micron 08. Stronger ghosting, stronger ink, especially on the 08. Tombow brush pens. Stronger ghosting, especially on the soft. Just heavier lines, it's going to be more visible. Tombow water-based markers. A little ghosty, no bleed through. Okay. That brings us to our mild liners and our Zig Clean color dots. There's a fine and a chisel. Fine and a chisel. Super fine. And a brush. Super fine. And a brush. Just some ghosting. And here we have, you can see pink and purple dots. They're starting to bleed through the purple more than the pink, of course. Not a bad little journal for under 13 bucks. If you just want to try it out, you haven't tried bullet journaling or journaling before, and you don't want to spend a lot of money until you know you're going to love it, that's one way to go. Sorry, I think I bumped the camera. Okay, one more journal, and this is the Hobonichi. We do the same thing. We go to the back, and we find a good test page here, and I think this is the back of the graph paper, but I'm going to go up one page so that it's just graph that we're looking through instead of the timetable here. So I'm actually going to work from here. Okay. I think I'm just going to get you out of the way. Okay. So here we go. This is the Pentel. Okay, I can tell the paper feels different. It just feels different under the pen. There's the Pentel Clena. Nice and clean. And of course, I mean, just like when you look at this page, you can see the timetable behind it. You can see through it to the things that are on the opposite pages. You're going to have ghosting with this Hobonichi paper no matter what. So what we're really looking through is really strong ghosting or show through or bleed through. But this paper is coated. It's only 52 GSM, I believe, but it's a coated paper which helps prevent bleed through. Uniball One. So I got to do a little line, and it does just, it feels different to write on this paper. So it's my first time. So this is a little bit of an adventure here. And this might make me go to colored pens because you can't see when it comes to show through. Of course, the blues and the blacks show much more than the orange. It's going to depend on the readability on this side. You know, if going with a lighter color or lighter ink would be a benefit. We'll give the Dr. Pilot a single go here. Or Dr. Grip, excuse me. The Pilot Dr. Grip 4+1. This may be where not having a true black comes into play. Having the softer black color for using in the Hobonichi might be the perfect thing. It really is thundering out there. I don't know if it's coming through on the video or not. I did not know that this was in the forecast. So yeah, using the sepia black instead of a true black, it does not show through quite as much. Like I said, I'm loving these vintage colors. They just speak to me for some reason. Okay, let's see how the little pen does. It's a very smooth paper for writing on. I may fall in love with this. And yes, I have already looked. I can buy it and print my own designs on this on the Tomoe River paper. Let's just really mix it up this time and get it all backwards. Okay. Squiggle, line, and then the word. Okay, now the pen's not really showing through a whole lot. Again, it depends on the color. No bleed through though. Let's see what the micron has to do for us. In fact, I'm not sure I would write in this with the 08 even, because having to try to write small with it. Maybe with a smoother paper it's actually easier to write small. Maybe the pen glides, it doesn't drag. I don't know. Oh, flip that over. Still no bleed through. Oh well, the ghosting that you'd expect, but not bad at all. Brush pens. Hard. is really coming a storm out there. Okay, now that really shows through, but it does not bleed through. I'm hoping I can filter out this rain sound. If not, I apologize. If I am liking this so far. I'm now looking forward to tomorrow and getting to start using this for my journal, but I'm going to start on the 1st. Got mild liners, and I've got Zig Clean Color Dot. I've got a super fine and a brush. A super fine and a brush. Fine and chisel. Fine chisel. Even the brown, which we'd been seeing it, I see it dark there, like it wanted to bleed through, but it didn't quite happen. I think it's just it's a strong color. And then finally the dots here. Now I can barely see that pink even showing up on this paper, on the front side. That's interesting. This is a little bit of a creamy paper, which would affect the colors. In fact, the Tombow, when I did that on those two colors, on the white paper, those two shades seem much different than they do here. They look closer together in color over here. Here we go. The pink did not bleed through. The purple wanted to, but it did not actually bleed through. Like I said, it's coated paper. I'm pretty pleased with that. Now, for the really fun part, I don't know if you use a correction tape at all when you are, if you make a mistake, or if you use I'll put a sticker over that, but I thought it might be fun to take at least some of the pens and do some tests with the correction and with try a different color one just to, don't usually use, well, we can try it on the lip pen. And we'll try a micron. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to write over here on the washi tape. And, I mean, washi tape, I would expect that to smear. So I'm not going to touch it right now. But I'm going to come over here and I'm going to write, again, Pentel Clena. I'm going to do some little squiggles here, right? then I'm going to take my Bic and put a line across it. And I'm going to write at the top that's Bic on this one, mono air on this one. Gotta keep that straight. And do the same thing over here. Didn't get that on very smoothly. I was holding it at an angle. Well, then I'm going to come back and I'm going to write back over that just a squiggle. And then see how it does. And now, what I see is with the Pentel Clena, and this is true on both of those pieces of correction tape, the ink is not as black as it is on the paper. It looks a little gray. The other thing to note about the two correction tapes is that the Bic, and I don't know if you can see that, the Bic has a sheen to it, whereas the mono air is more matte and blends in with the paper better. Now, our ink has been drying on the washi tape for a little bit, so let's see what happens. And I see some smear. I see some lines there. So let's go ahead. Let's try it over here. I should have written it over here too. So we'll write Pentel Clena 0.5 millimeter. And again, this surface should not smear. Oh, it's smearing. It's got a textured surface, but it is, like a little piece of film. So I'll come back and touch that again in a minute. Let's try a Uniball One. Paper back under here. 0.5 millimeters. Give myself some squiggles here. And the mono air goes over here. And the Bic over here. And then I'm going to squiggle over it. Go ahead and write over here. And in this one, the black on top of the correction tape is still pretty black. The color looks truer than with the Clena. And now this one, when I run my finger over the washi tape there, I do not see any smearing there. Now I'm going to come over here and rub the Clena. Okay, now it is dry and I am not seeing smearing. I'm going to do the same thing and start over here. Okay, the Uniball One, I am not seeing any smearing here. So for it to do that on this transparent sticky note is pretty good, I think. And the fact that you can write on washi tape, which has a slick surface as well. So that was interesting. Okay, let's try, I laid a couple of Sarasas out here simply because I wanted to see a different color on that, on the correction tape. So I'll write Sarasa here. And I'll write it over here. And give myself some squiggles. And give myself some squiggles. And I'll write over here on this one as well. And the color actually looks pretty good even on this yellow Post-it note. Okay, so the mono air, little stripe there, little stripe there. And squiggle, squiggle, squiggle. Okay, so I want to say that the ink is not quite as clear on the correction tape. I'm going to say more so on the Bic than on the Bic than on the mono. Okay, those did smear a little bit. At least the black tone did. I'm not seeing it on the yellow, but I do see a little bit of smearing there. I am not seeing any smearing on the Post-it note though. Okay, so let's try. I don't know how the little pen's going to do with I'm going to write on the clear one on this since these are colors or markers. I don't know how this will do on with the correction. But it's always fun to try. So the correction fluid here, it does not absorb into the correction fluid like it does the paper, and so the lines are finer. It covers, I mean, both correction tapes cover well in every case. I'm not seeing any smearing on the washi tape, nor on the Post-it note. Okay, I chose a micron 0.5. And the micron is doing the same thing the little pen did, in that the lines on top of the correction tape are thinner than they are on the paper. And I just smeared that without even trying on the washi tape. And the micron smears on the Post-it note as well. Again, this is a pigmented ink. It sits on top of the paper heavily, so it does take longer to dry. I don't think there's any reason I would use correction tape on any of the other markers. I am curious about writing on the post-it notes with some of the markers though, and seeing how they do. So this is the Tombow water-based markers. Water-based markers. Don't know if I might use a mild liner. Maybe if I was using this over text, I wanted to highlight, but I didn't want to actually write on the text. I might do that, I suppose. So we'll do a couple mild liners on here. And now that dried very nicely. I'm seeing all these little dots of ink on the mild liners. And I can tell that it's wet. It actually felt a little sticky where the ink is because it's not completely dry. But it didn't smear, so that's interesting. But yeah, these are kind of cool tools in that they are completely transparent, or unless they're color. And the packet came with 2 of the completely clear ones, and then 2 neon yellow, and a pink and orange. And there's 50 in each of these, and 50 of these in the brand name cost as much as this whole package. So I'm glad to see that they perform pretty well. Again, this was the Pen and Gear brand at Walmart. So that is everything. I will put pictures of all of these test pages that we did on my blog, and I will link that in the description. I will add to the description all of the different pens and the different papers I used, in case you are interested. And that information will be available in the description. But here are all our tests, and when I take the pictures, I will do a picture of the front and a picture of the back and put them side by side so that you can, you have to mirror image it, as to, okay, where's this? It's over here. But I'll put all of these on my website and link that in the description below so that you have that information to look at. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I know this was a long video. Thanks for hanging in there. I'd love to hear what your favorite planners or journals are and what your favorite must-have pens and markers are too. So please share that in the comments. And if you found this video helpful or learned something new, give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out. And if you're into functional planning, organization, DIY planner pages and accessories like me, go ahead and click the subscribe button too. That way you won't miss any future tips and ideas. Happy planning, and I'll see you in the next video.